we just had a new balance patch, so it's time for a new tier list. As always, splitting my tier list into two parts. First, we talk about Pokemon if you pick them in top or bot path. And for the second tier list, we have the central area. Because again, if you mix both of those together, it's quite hard to understand. Because if I put, like, let's say Cinderace into A tier, it means that Cinderace is a fine Pokemon, maybe in central area. But in path, obviously, it falls off, you know, much, much faster. And to just make no confusion about how Pokemon is supposed to be played, always two parts of this tier list. So first one, again, top and bot path. How does a Pokemon perform if you pick it in top or bot path through the entire match? First up, we have Venusaur. I think Venusaur is just a fine Pokemon. I think Solar Beam is actually quite good right now as well. Petal is still good as well. I think it's just a Pokemon you can just pick and do totally fine on. Mr. Mime, I think he's still A tier to me. I think Barrier Confusion is just not very popular because it's quite difficult to play as well. I don't think a lot of people enjoy playing this build, but I do think Barrier and Confusion Mime for sure is a tier Pokemon. Power Swap is probably down here, I would say. Currently, I wouldn't recommend going Power Swap anymore. Snorlax, easily A to me as well. Like, he's just a very solid defender Pokemon. Does everything you need for a defender. Stuns, heals, and so on and so on. Has very good laning phase as well. It allows you, know, if you have like XP share on Snorlax, it allows your lane Pokemon or your partner Pokemon in lane to be very high level. Next up, we have Gengar. It's just not really it right now, especially in path. You can play it. You can always get KOs on Gengar. That's why I don't put it into C tier. You can always come back into a game and for sure perform with this Pokemon in path. Is it amazing? No. Gardevoir, also, I would say A tier to me. Maybe a bit surprising still, but I do think level 5 and even Confusion can get great last sets, and I do think this Pokemon is still quite good, especially in the current meta, where it's very special attack heavy. That Psychic allows everyone to deal just much more damage. Absol, it's just not really it right now either, I have to say. It's alright, but there's just so many strong Pokemon where you have a struggle to play against. There's so much damage, you go down so fast. I struggle playing Absol as well. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, it's one of my better Pokemon. It's my second most played still Pokemon, but it's so difficult to make it work right now. People always hate on me for putting Garchomp into A tier, but I think this Pokemon is very good. I don't know why, like we see it in tournaments as well, a crazy amount. It's just a solid Pokemon. But I always see people questioning the Garchomp in A, and I've been putting it into A for like the last 3, 4, 5 months now. I've been putting Garchomp into A tier. So I think it's just a very solid Pokemon. Lucario, again, Lucario is a difficult discussion. It gets either A or B plus tier, but I don't know. Like, I'm gonna put into B plus now. Like, I'm done putting it higher. It's alright. It just doesn't really do too much. It has good laning phase. It can still be picked in competitive, because Lucario players, they can be pretty good. But overall, this Pokemon has a hard time right now dealing with so much damage in the game to actually just live. Crustle goes into B tier for me as well. Just, I mean, Rock Tomb is fine, but is it really comparable to like a Snorlax, a Trevenant, a Slowbro? It's just not right. Like, he has no chance against all those Pokemon. They're just straight up much, much better. Greninja into C tier. Don't think I have to talk about this too much. I think Talonflame is one of the better lane speedsters, but I'm not going to put higher than B+. Has good early game, and I think he can totally be played in top or bot path if you so desire. Charizard goes into B tier in path. Yeah, it's alright. It just misses last hitting, right? If it had better last hitting tools, it would be fine. Kinda can make it through laning phase, and Unite Move can have big impact. The reason why like Charizard and Gengar and Absol are higher than C tier is because their Unite Moves can always get comeback experience, which is very important as well. Even if you lose your path a bit, as soon as you get to level 9, Gengar, Charizard can just take the most important player on the enemy team and take them down, right? Get yourself a lot of comeback experience and stun you back in the game. That's why those Pokemon are just a tiny bit better and don't deserve to be C tier. At least that's my reasoning on it. Zora goes into C tier. Not a fan. I did post a Cinderace path video yesterday, and I do think it can work. But again, this Pokemon only works in path with either like a Snorlax with XP share, maybe Slowbro with XP share. That's the only time this Pokemon can work in path, because level 7 for Pyro Ball is still very far away, right? You need a lot of experience to get through that Pyro Ball power spike. And yeah, it just takes a bit too long sometimes. But I think it's actually, yeah, again, only works with an XP share support, right? That's just what I want to say. If you have an XP share tank or support, it's something you can for sure do. Eldegoss, easily A+ to me. This Pokemon is still very, very strong and one of the better supports. Just does a lot, but please guys, play XP share on this Pokemon as well. The amount of Eldegoss I have in my team who don't play XP share is honestly quite scary. XP share is so broken and you should for sure play it. Cram To me, solid A Pokemon as well still. Yeah, he's just a good Pokemon. Just very solid. Blastoise, I think also A. Easily, right? At least A, I would say. Just a good defender Pokemon. Does a lot. Pikachu, it goes into B+ tier. Just lacks a tiny bit of damage, I would say. Voltec is still great, but doesn't matter what it lacks, just lacks a tiny bit of damage. But it's not a bad Pokemon either. Clefable, also easily at least A. It's either between A or A+ tier. Solid healer Pokemon. It's just like the healer pool is very competitive, right? We have Blissey, Clefable, Eldegoss, Hooper, and Comfey. None of those Pokemon are very good, so the support pool is very, very stacked. Next up, Ninetales. I'm going to put back into A tier for now, maybe even higher, but I think Blizzard Avalanche is honestly great. Maybe I'm overrating it a tiny bit because I really enjoy playing this build, but at least it's back to A tier for now, and then on the next tier list, I guess we can see if it maybe is a bit higher or a bit lower. Of course, we don't have the win rate data yet, but for me, it feels very good to have that Blizzard and Avalanche cooldown align. And also, Unite move buffs are always great, right? Having low cooldown on Unite just is a, huge change. Wigglytuff is alright. Nothing too crazy. It's a Pokemon you can pick and for sure have a lot of success on. If you, play with a lane partner as well. Also good XP share Pokemon. Very good with like Glaceon and Espeon as well. Yeah. But I don't know if I can put it into A tier, but it's a good Pokemon. Like, again, B+, is just Pokemon that are very mid, but they still work, okay? That's all I want to say. Slowbro is either still S or A+ tier easily. I mean, he's the best defender Pokemon, right? So I'm going to put into S tier just because Slowbro is the best, main defender Pokemon that you kind of... You're kind of required to play this Pokemon at this point still, right? You're kind of required to. Of course, Lapras is on the same level, but Lapras is like a bit of a different tank Pokemon. Lapras is more like a damage defender, and we see a lot of Surf, XP share, Slowbros, and his Unite move is just too valuable. Especially against all these Comfey and Zacian still, Slowbro Unite is a big game changer. Machamp, still easily A tier for me as well, just a solid Pokemon. We talked about Blissey, which I think, to me, I mean, I don't know if it's on the same level as Clefable maybe, but it's still a very good Pokemon. I'm going to put it into A tier as well. Mamoswine is just a bit behind the other defender Pokemon, but I don't think it's too bad to pick either. Goes into B+. Sylveon, still easily A tier Pokemon as well. Greedent is a weird Pokemon. Like, it always has a high win rate. I'm going to put it into A tier. Always very solid Pokemon. It's just decent. Like, it's just a decent Pokemon. Decidueye in lane goes very far down. Very bad. I mean, it's not very bad. It's similar to Cinderace, right? Like, again, in tournaments, you see some people play Decidueye in Path because they have an XP share support, which allows it. Again, those two Pokemon work with XP share supports. Cinderace and Decidueye. Greninja, I still wouldn't play in Path necessarily, but Cinderace and Decidueye 100% work in Path. If you have like a Duo-Q partner, it's a Snorlax, whatever XP share, you can totally consider picking it. Otherwise, please don't. Next up, we have Dragonite, a terrible Path Pokemon as well. Serena is just not it right now. It's just too squishy. It goes down so fast. It has no chance in the special attack meta either. There's so much damage around. And either you play against special attack Pokemon that have very high range, or you play against Zacian and Lapras where you have to go in, and against those Pokemon you just don't win. That's the problem, right? So, and it's either one of these always. Either you play against Zacian, Urshifu, Lapras, which when you go in, you go down, or you play against Glaceon and Espeon, which you can't even reach, and you go down as well. So it's a bit of an issue right now. Trevenant, to me, is still A+, I would say. Maybe not quite this high, but I do think this Pokemon is still very strong and very annoying as well. Aegislash goes into B+ tier. Hooper, to me, is easily S tier. I think this Pokemon is absolutely broken. I hate playing against it. Hyperspace Hole just is a crazy move that I feel like should have never been buffed again, personally. Dura, if you want to pick an auto-attack Pokemon in Path, I think this is the one to go for. Besides that, it's kind of a special attack Pokemon, right? Because it doesn't have to evolve. Unlike Cinderace, Decidueye, Greninja, it doesn't have to evolve. It's very strong, very fast, and it just needs level 5. Espeon is either still S or A tier. I'm actually quite sure where I should put it. But I'm going to put it into A+ tier for now. Actually, it's probably still S tier, right? It's very difficult to judge this Pokemon. It's either S or A+, but I mean, there's not a big difference. I mean, there's a big difference, but I don't think I'm going to put it into A+ for now and see at the end of the tier list if I'm going to change my opinion. Next up, we have Azumarill, also just okay. I don't know, these all-rounders used to be the meta, right? These four, Serena, Azumarill, Aegislash, Lucario, all of them have been nerfed and replaced. A bit sad, but yeah, it is what it is. Delphox, I would say is the A as well. Fire Spin, Fire Blast is actually a very good path build. You just need also like an XP share support maybe to make it a bit easier to play, right? Okay, I'm gonna wait for this buff Pokemon a tiny bit. Let's do some of these non-buff Pokemon first again. Buzzwole, a solid B+ tier Pokemon. I think it's similar to these. It's a solid Pokemon. It just struggles sometimes. Tyranitar, terrible in path. I wouldn't recommend playing it right now, especially in solo queue. Very difficult to actually make work. Mew is still... Mew is either A or A+ tier. To me at least. I think Mew is still one of the best ranged attackers, right, that we have, I would say. So I'm still gonna put it into A+ tier. And then we have Scyther. Scyther didn't get a change. It goes also into B+ for me. Dodrio, I think, is an A. It's just a very good Pokemon. And I'm just gonna put it into the A+ tier. Then we have Sableye, which is also A+, which is a very annoying Pokemon still. It does so much work. Very difficult to play against. I'm actually going to put Zorak into A+ as well. I think this Pokemon is just... You just notice it how... I don't know. People are getting very good at this Pokemon, and I think you really notice it, how OP Feint Attack Zorak really is. I think slowly people are going to realize that this Pokemon is absolutely busted when it comes to Feint Attack, and Feint Attack is not fair. That's how much I can tell you. Dragapult goes down to the classic trio right here. Then we have Chandelure, which I am actually a big fan of. I think he's very sort of good Pokemon. Gonna put him to A+ tier. Getting to level 5 can sometimes take a while, but level 5 and he gets Overheat. It's such a strong Pokemon. Like it really gets really strong very fast. And then we have Urshifu, 2 Urshifus. I think Big Blow is now a bit worse than Surging Strikes. I'm gonna put the Big Blow one in here, and the Surging Strikes Urshifu up into this area right here. Up into this. Again, I'm gonna just order these by role. So we have Attacker, All-Rounder, Speedster, Supports, Defenders next to each other. They're not ranked by how strong they are. I'm just gonna rank them by role. And then we have now some buff Pokemon. Let's start with Zacian. Didn't get changed actually. But he didn't even get changed. He wasn't. Zacian is still S tier easily. Lapras, I think, is also still S tier. At least in my opinion. Maybe it's a bit worse. But this Pokemon is still absolutely insane to me as well. Goodra. I think the Goodra buff was very nice. I'm going to put it into A tier now. I think it deserves to probably be A tier now. You can either play Dragon Pulse or Muddy Water. And the Unite Move buff was just absolutely huge for this Pokemon. Comfey. Comfey is weird. I think it's not S anymore, but at least it's A or A+ tier again. As long as Lapras and Zacian are up here, Comfey is also going to be very high. I think if those two fall off, I think then maybe we see less Comfey. But Zacian and Lapras are just unkillable with Comfey. So. But I feel like you notice the Comfey nerf. It's a bit easier to actually take down the Zacian now, or the Comfey target, so yeah. Then we have Scizor, which... I had Scizor, I think, here last patch. I'm gonna put into B+ tier just because it's very difficult to play this Pokemon if you don't know what your opponents have. If there was a draft mode, I would maybe put it up here. But since we don't have a draft mode, it's very difficult to rate this Pokemon higher because up against, like, look at this, like, special attack Pokemon. Every time I played Scizor myself, I was up against 3 special attack Pokemon on the enemy team, and it felt so difficult to play against. Every single time the enemy said 3 special attack Pokemon, there's nothing I could do. Like, you just go down so fast, right? It's passive, gives you defense stats, but only defense. Only physical defense, not special defense. And look at all these special attack. We have so much 9 hits right now. We have so much Glaceon. Espeon is still played. Chandelure is played, right? Slowbro, Lapras, all the supports. So it's so difficult for this Pokemon to actually live. But sometimes it works very well. I think just overall it's still quite average because you don't know who you're up against, right? And then Glaceon, I'm just going to put into S tier. I don't know why they buffed Glaceon. Don't ask me. I do not know. This Pokemon already annoys me already right now. Maybe S tier is a bit too high for Path. It's either A+ or S tier though. Yeah, it makes no sense they buffed this Pokemon. It really makes no sense. It does so much damage right now. It's crazy, and they just made it much easier to play because your Ice Shard lasts longer, which means you get your Icicle Shard stacked up much faster as well again. More attack speed. You have a bigger window of getting your Icicle Shards in, and then Icicle Spear also got a damage buff. Yeah, probably the most unreasonable buff I've ever seen in this game, for sure. Like, Icicle Spear was already played in tournaments. It was actually quite decent. It wasn't like the highest win rate build, but it was still performing well. So, does Espeon deserve to be S tier as well still? I guess that's a question for you guys in the comments. Let me know if you think Espeon is still S or A+ tier, and I'm curious to see your guys' answers. Now for the central area tier list. I'm gonna start with Venus as well again. I think it's a fine central area Pokemon if you go Petidance. Also still a very good comp user. For sure, quite decent. Gengar. I don't know, Gengar's fine. Good and bad at the same time. It's actually quite difficult to deal with Glaceon and Espeon, even though they're squishy. It's because of their passives, right? They just kind of block your Dream Eater, which is very difficult to play against. So, B+, I think is totally fine. We don't jungle with these. Gardevoir is still solid A Pokemon as well. Garchomp, solid A jungler, central area Pokemon to me as well. Greninja is alright. I think he has seen, better metas. I think it's just so difficult to get your Surf reset in right now that I would put it into B+ tier. Same for Absol. It just gets outclassed, but Pursuit, I think Sucker Punch is actually quite good. If you go at Pursuit Sucker Punch, it can for sure be a bit higher. But it's still a very RNG-based build. So when I played, I never crit. I have to say it, I never crit when I play this Pokemon. So I'm not a fan. Talonflame is one of the good speedsters as well when it comes to central area. Gonna put it into A tier. Very underrated Pokemon, I would say. It's very, very strong. Lucario, terrible central area Pokemon. Please don't do it. Can't recommend. Charizard, I like Charizard currently. I think he's quite decent. Just gotta watch out for those Snow Cloaks on Glaceons to make sure Unite Move doesn't get interrupted. Zeraora. Yeah, Zeraora still just needs... I mean, he needs buffs, but I'm scared of Zeraora being buffed. I think this Pokemon, people ask for buffs for it, and it's gonna be very annoying. Similar to Zoroark. If you buff these kind of Pokemon, the speedsters, it can always be kind of risky, because they're not very fun to play against when they're actually good. Cinderace, to me, goes back into A tier after the last patch. I think the Unite Move buff is absolutely insane. Doesn't matter which bit you play, if you play Old Blaze Kick and Flame Charge, if you play Pyro Ball or Flame Charge, Pyro Ball also getting buffed, right? The Unite Move buffs are just insane. Less cooldown and unstoppable during it, I think, makes Cinderace a great Pokemon again. I'm not sure if it's A+ yet. Maybe it's A+ worthy as well, because it's a Pokemon that can take down, like Lapras, Zacian, because it deals a lot of single target damage. I'm gonna put into A tier for now. Actually, maybe it's A+. Honestly, I do like Cinderace again. I do think it's quite good right now. Maybe it's actually A+ worthy. Let me know in the comments what you think about Cinderace as well. I'm always curious for your guys' opinions. It's always interesting to see. Cramorant, solid A Pokemon as well. Just a very decent Pokemon. Pikachu and Central. People always say that I made a Central Pikachu video, that I played it and recommended it to people, which I never did. I only watched some tournament guy played in tournaments and made a video about that, but I've never recommended Pikachu in the central area. So please stop saying that. That's not my fault, okay? Ninetales in central area is alright. Nothing too crazy. I would still probably play Veil if I go for a central area build. Haven't tried Blizzard and Avalanche as a central area Pokemon yet, because, it's just better in lane to play as like a supportive damage dealer. Machamp in central is actually quite decent. I'm gonna put it into the B+ tier. I think can for sure be played if you want to go for a, strong ganking jungler. Then we have Sylveon. Sylveon, I think, is quite good in central area. But is it A or B+? Probably B+, right? Probably B+. I do like it a lot. Decidueye is a weird Pokemon. Like, Decidueye is super strong and super bad at the same time. I think Spirit Shackle is absolutely overpowered. If you actually get it out, it's very good into Glaceon as well, because you outrange Glaceon by a lot, which again, currently is meta. I'm actually going to put into A tier. It's just very risky playing Decidueye. It's very risky to play this Pokemon. I would only recommend playing it if your team comp looks good. Alright, so if you're a central area player and your team comp looks good, you have a healer Pokemon, you have good frontline, I would consider playing it. If you have like 3 attack and a speedster and path, don't play this Pokemon. But if you play it smart, if you pick it smartly in good scenarios, I think it's an insane Pokemon. And we see it in tournaments over and over again that Decidueye is actually one of the better Pokemon in the game currently when it comes to drafting. Sadly, solo queue is blind pick. Sadly, you can't rely on your allies too much, right? So it can be quite difficult. Dragonite is alright. Nothing too crazy, I would say. B+. Maybe even A still. It's just alright. It's alright. Hyper Beam is still quite decent. For sure. Serena. I mean, Sandra is probably better than Path for Serena right now, because you can actually get experience there, but it's not too amazing. Same for Aegislash, Duraludon. Are currently still sitting at a very high win rate, so I have to respect it and put it into A+ tier. Azumarill is similar to these Pokemon. Again, these three, they used to like destroy the game. Now they're at the bottom. I think Espeon with Stored Power Psybeam is actually quite a strong central area Pokemon. Very underrated build, which I underrated as well in the past. Delphox easily A+ tier. Very strong Pokemon, in my opinion. Buzzwole also goes into B tier, Scyther into B+, I would say. I don't think I'm going to put it too much higher. I think it's just alright. Like, you can pick Scyther, and it's going to be alright. Scizor in Central Area, I still absolutely hate. Whenever I see someone pick Scizor in Central Area, even with the buffs, I mean, maybe it's fine because of blue buff, because you actually get blue buff, but he's just so slow at clearing Central, and he just doesn't gank. Like, his ganks are absolutely useless, right? He has an absolutely 0 kill pressure on any Pokemon, so it feels very worthless, you know, putting this Pokemon into the Central Area. Yeah, it's just so slow around the map. I hate it. Maybe it's even lower, but after the buffs, I guess B is kind of fair. Tyranitar, yeah, I don't know. Tyranitar's weird. It just takes so long. He's still a decent Pokemon, so I'm going to put him into B+, but it takes a long time for you to be, you know, valuable. Dodrio, I'm going to put into either A... I mean, who am I going to... Okay, I'm going to put some into S tier, I guess, but I guess he's A... Nah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's S tier. Yeah, maybe this Pokemon is S tier still. It's just so annoying to play against. Every time I play against a Dodrio, it's just so difficult, right? This Pokemon, if the player's good as well, it still dominates the professional scene as well, so... Mew has dropped a lot into Central Area, I would say. I'm going to put it into B+ tier. Zoroark in Central Area is fine. I'm going to put it into A. I think it's better on Path, because if you... I mean, it's... So, what people do in tournaments is, right, they go Central Area Zoroark until level 5, and afterwards they just lane with it. So, yeah, I mean... The problem with it in Central Area is that you just want to fight... After you get level 5, you want to fight your opponents. You don't want to go back to Central Area and start farming it up, right? So... It's just better to just, you know, get level 5, but I mean, if it gets level 5, it's just so strong of a Pokemon. Urshifu, the Urshifu's Big Blow, I think, is A+, and then we have, I'm going to put Surging Strikes into S tier. It's such a nonsense build, right? It's so strong. It is just so strong. Dragapult to me is a solid A Pokemon as well. Strong, just basic attacker Pokemon. I think if you like playing this Pokemon, you can for sure do it. Lapras, if you want to play it, you know, defender in Central Area, I think you can easily still play Lapras and have a lot of success with it. Chandelure goes into A+ for Central as well. I do like it a lot. Overheat does crazy amounts of damage, and you get to level 5 very fast in Central Area. And now we have Zacian, of course, still S tier. I mean, probably S+ tier, honestly. They didn't change it, right? So it's still the best Pokemon when it comes to Central Area. But I just want to have more people, you know, more Pokemon in S tier. Glaceon, not a surprise, also goes into S tier. With those buffs to Ice Egg Spear. Icy Wind is also still very strong. Even if you just play the other bit, it's also still just nonsense, this Pokemon anyways. And then we have one left. I mean, I guess Blastoise I can put into here as well. And then we have Goodra, which I think is also quite fine in Central Area. I'd rather have a Goodra Central Area than these Pokemon. That might sound crazy, but if Goodra actually gets experience, it's actually quite good. Alright guys, that's it for Central Area tier list. As always, let me know in the comments what you think about the tier list, what you agree, what you disagree with, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I wish you guys a nice day.